Good morning, viewers at home. Welcome to the program SuperDawn. I am Vera Sopo.
And I am Anthony Osaibuvo. Good morning.
Yes, viewers, this morning what we'll do is we want to look at achieving human capital development and economic growth in Nigeria. Well, it's very important that we know what human capital is. That is where employees gain skills so that they can be very useful to their employers or organizations. So we want to look at human capital today and also looking at it, how it can help our economy this morning. And away from that, we also have the newspaper review segment where we're going to review some of this the papers this morning, and we will open the phone lines for you to call and make your contributions. Please, I wouldn't like the idea of knocking you off, but watch your words. Let's be civil. Even when we are angry, let's watch what we say. Once again, good morning to you. We'll go on this break, and when we come back, the SuperDawn newspaper review will continue. Stay with us.
SuperDawn, your daily live current affairs program where topical issues that border on politics, economy, sport, and sizzling national issues are analyzed, now holds every Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Superscreen television. Let your voice be heard. Join us.
Welcome back. Is the newspaper review segment, and we want to start with the Punch this morning. And it says, graft won't end until justice catches up with corrupt leaders. Shoyinka.
Okay. Mr. Wole Soyinka is one of those people Professor Wole Soyinka is one of those people that when he talks a whole lot of sense. And yes, I will go with this. There's a popular saying that says, one day for the thief, every day for the thief, one day for the honor. So I think, yes, I'll go with that.
Okay, Professor Wole Soyinka says, anti-corrupt Nigerians leaders start getting jailed. The war against corruption will never be won. Soyinka said this in Abuja on Monday at the 8th Commonwealth Regional Conference for Heads of Anti-Corruption Agency in Africa. The playwright said that he recently visited the new heads of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, which will be inaugurated this week. He said on arrival at the building, he specifically asked the acting chairman of the EFCC, Mr. Ibrahim Magu, to take him to the VIP, but that's a very important person section of the detention facility, but was delighted to hear that all suspects were treated equally. Soyinka said that we have been bleeding dry in this nation by corrupt leaders and their agencies is nothing to reiterate. It's a given. And I took the trouble yesterday to visit the headquarters of the EFCC. I wanted to see what it will be the mode of hospitality of some of our leaders who will be surely sooner or later pass through the doors of the beautiful building. And so he went through it. He said they are the same. And it's not about draft. That's what he's saying. Draft won't help us. What will help us is if they see them go through jail, the doors of jail.
That's a fact. Corruption cannot be overemphasized in Nigeria, from unemployment to hunger to everything. Just look at it from every angle. The root of all of the things we're passing through in Nigeria is corruption. And if this is not wiped out, we will continue to have this problem. And the only way we can wipe this out is if we arraign these people, the leaders, probe them, and find a way to pass them through the doors, like Wale Soyinka said.
Okay, I have this one. Women protest, locked downtown over removal from payroll. Some elderly women on Monday took to the street in southern Ijaw local government area of Bayelsa State to protest against the removal from the payroll of the state-owned Niger Delta University. The women, who were in their late 60s and early 70s, blocked the road leading to the university in their area, demanding that their names be removed to the be returned to the payroll. They are working in the university, but their names were removed. But we don't know why this happened. But all the same, it happened, and they took to the streets.
And if you're working for someone, you definitely should be paid. It's even in the Bible.
Why will you take it off?
It's funny. So you cannot expect less. We are the voice. It's the democratic society. We should talk. We should go out there. And if the school is, I think if the school is wise enough, they should listen to them.
Okay, we also have this in the Punch this morning. It says, troops rescue old man from Boko Haram. This says, banker links fire shade to 1.2 billion allegedly collected from Dasuki. We have DCO injured, vehicles vandalized at shades, and police clash. Also in the papers this morning, we have APC crisis, crack in NPDP as ultimatum expires. Federal government begins repairs of Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway. 2 Nigerians battered fellow students over who has to reach his dad. What is Paul?
It's the funny thing. That's the funny thing. I saw that yesterday. I'm like, is that what I should be arguing about at this point in time?
Your father is rich, and what about it?
Well, I would say when you are overwhelmed, when you have a lot at your beck and call, you don't really see other things important. You just feel everything. You take everything with levity. So
okay,
yes,
that's the one that's all the story we can take in the Punch newspaper this morning, and we'll move away to the newspaper.
The Nation's newspaper. We have here ex-PDP leaders to Buhari, Sean ultimatum for talks. And it says here, another group of ex-People's Democratic Party PDP leaders who joined the coalition that formed the All Progressive Congress in 2014 yesterday slammed those who claimed that the group was marginalized. Last week, a one-time acting chairman of the PDP, Alhaji Kawu Baraje, led a group to submit a letter to the APC leadership. The group claimed that the Buhari administration and the party leadership had neglected its members despite their contributions to the APC's success in the 2015 election. The letter signed by the former Osun states, that continues on page 6, Governor Olagunsuye Oyunlola gave the APC leadership 7 days to invite them to a meeting on the issues they raised. The ultimatum expires today. Another group of the ex-PDP members in the APC yesterday challenged the Baraje group to states where a meeting was held that mandated them to write a letter to the party's leadership. Okay, now it's kind of like a blame game, or I won't call it a blame game. It's 2 people in one coalition are saying 2 different things. But I think here I'll just wait till the other group replies, and we'll get to know what's up with this. Okay, here says PDP moves Dukwambo for president. Rivers APC Abe 6 president's help. And here says Lagos-Abeokuta road repairs to cost 22.3 billion naira. Another headline here says Osibanjo, why loot recovery is tough. I'll take a story. It says Vice President Yemi Osibanjo yesterday listed 6 obstacles facing Nigeria and other nations seeking to repatriate looted funds and confiscate assets of corrupt elements. He also said developing countries lose $1 trillion annually to corporate transgressions, adding that the private sector's complicity in corrupt practices is significant. In Osinbajo's view, the procedures to obtain mutual legal assistance to confiscate and repatriate proceeds of corruption needs to be reformed. Okay, I'll just take a few items here where he listed procedures to be taken to fight corruption. Here says differences in legal and procedural frameworks, language barriers, bank secrecy, jurisdictional issues, and lack of funding. Well, I would agree with everything except the lack of funding. Okay. Would you say that the fight against corruption, or the reason why corruption is being on a high rise, we've not been able to fight it, is because of the sector which is supposed to be fighting corruption is underfunded?
Well, it might be part of it. When you want to fight a canker one, we say, like corruption, you need to really look into it. First, the question is, are you ready? If you're ready, the institutions that are in charge of this fight should be funded, should be educated, should be trained. And so I think it's part of it. They need to have funded these institutions, and the workers there need to be well paid so that when people come flaunting money before you, you know that you're well paid and you're disciplined. You'll be able to overcome that temptation. So I think it's part of it.
Yes. It should. That is one thing. Most of our security agencies, especially the police, that are taking bribes and all of that, yeah, I would use that. I would say it's because of, in their occupations, they are not as paid as a normal average worker or the politician. So yes, that is one thing we should.
But anti-draft agencies, the draft agencies, they pay them well. But I think if we're also looking at the judiciary arms, they need to be well funded. These institutions need to, especially the agencies, security agencies, need to be taken care of because lots of things happen. When you go for an arrest, some people will want to bribe you so that you don't get there, and all stories will come up from that. At the end of the day, most times you hear that is alleged and you never see them persecuted because they're not found guilty. Then you begin to ask yourself, why bring it forward to the public, to the general public?
The funny thing is, most times you don't even get any reports after that. It's alleged, the person or whoever is alleged will be arraigned at so date, and after that we don't hear any more reports. It just dies there. Okay, this last headline I'll take. CJN condemns attack on courts in Rivers. Chief Justice of Nigeria, Walter Onogen, has condemned last Friday's reported attack on courts and judicial workers in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. Onogen warned that such attack on the judiciary was a sign of grave moral depravity among political actors and a major threat to the nation's democracy. Now, I would not go by that. I would not encourage any form of act, any I mean, you see people in the courts trying to solve a situation and thugs come through with guns, blasting and all of that. Why would that happen? If that happened, would that encourage, how would I be encouraged to want to charge anybody, any politician, any party, if I find them wanting?
Yeah.
So this is I will go with the CJN, and it should be condemned.
It should be condemned. All those kind of acts. It's not
okay,
acceptable.
I'll take that. That will be the last story for the nation's newspaper.
Okay, we'll go on this break, and when we come back, SuperDawn will continue with the newspaper review segment. Stay with us. Welcome back. Well, we'll continue with this segment and the newspaper review. We have the Daily Trust this morning. Cracks in NPDP as fractions emerges. The claims by members of the default NPDP that they are being marginalized in the ruling APC are lies, a senator and a senior member of the party said yesterday. Senator Abdullahi Adamu, former governor of Nasarawa State, stated this in a reaction to the accusation of marginalization made by former acting chairman of the NPDP, Alhaji Kawo Barije. And the NPDP was a breakaway fraction of the then ruling party, the PDP, that teamed up with 3 other parties to form the APC and then went ahead to win the 2015 elections. So right now, it happens when election is around the corner, where people will come with their own ideas. Some people will break away. This is not unusual. You see it ahead of an elections, like this particular will come in 2019.
Well, the thing is, it's all politics. That's one thing we need to understand, the APC needs to understand, the PDP needs to understand. When people from one party defect into your party, they're actually defecting for a reason. Probably because they feel, okay, this is the ruling party, we will be favored. You know, and well, at that time anyway, PDP was the ruling party at that time, and now APC. So I think the reason why they did this is because, okay, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. And at the end of the day, they are not given that, that gift which they expected, and they sort of raise alarm and all of that. But at the end of the day, the reason why you joined the party was because you are supposed to believe in the party and contribute your quota. So whatever happens, it's all good. Just face it.
Okay, well, I don't know about that really. But I think if you look at the Republican, if you go to American system, you will see that the diplomats are even different. And that ideology is imbibed in them from when they are cradled. In fact, from their mother's womb, you know that I'm a Republican. And they grow up and they believe in it and they stay put to it. But when we talk about Nigeria here, you see that some people can just wake up one morning, you're an AD member. The next afternoon, you are in another party. It does not look as though we are ready or we understand it. But I think it's very good if you believe in a party. And there's nothing wrong, Anthony, really. If your party is not giving you what you desire, there's nothing wrong in you moving away. But the one I feel is not too good is when the man moves or the woman moves. This month you're somewhere this year, the next year you're in another place, the other year you're in another. I just feel you're not ready for politics. But let's take this one. Sudan arrests killer of Nigerian diplomats.
Amen.
Ms. Insan Khalid Milkanu has been identified as the prime suspect in the murder of Nigerian diplomats in Sudan, Mr. Abibul Amun. The federal government has said. Almun, an immigration attaché at the Nigerian mission in Khartoum, was stabbed to death at his official quarters in Khartoum, Sudan last Thursday. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs said Ms. Milkanu, a student of Sudanese Canadian College in Khartoum and a Sudanese of Nigerian origin, was identified after several arrests of suspects and investigation by the host authority. The ministry spokesperson, Dr. Tokbe alias Fatil, in a statement said Milkanu had since confessed to committing the crime and is being held in custody for further investigation, after which he will be charged to court. Why must you kill?
Well, human beings are wicked.
Was stabbed by...
Human beings are wicked, and I would say it's a very good development because we've heard a series of reports where Nigerians are being killed for no good reason in other countries.
Yeah, but
you cannot just take us for granted. And this means, this is a good development, that because we are Nigerians, we're supposed to be the giant of Africa, and you need to respect us regardless. So yes, it's a good development.
Well, I don't know why, and I see no reason, because if you look at this story here, it said she confessed to admitting the crime. It was actually said that it was established that the deceased was stabbed to death by Ms. Malkanu, and it was discovered during the investigation that the suspect stole some of the deceased's personal belongings, including cash. I mean, killing because of money, and killing a diplomat, it was an attaché. I think
very
this
sad.
was a sign to them that you cannot just take a life of a person in your country.
Especially in Nigeria.
Okay, we have this one. We've taken that before. Omar Agege gets Senate not to resume today. The leadership of the Senate last night resolved to allow Senator Omar Agege to resume today, pending the determination of the motion for stay of execution of the judgment at the Court of Appeal. On April 12 this year, Omar Agege, APC Delta, was suspended for 90 legislative days over the remarks that the election sequence bill was targeted at President Muhammadu Buhari and the court action he instituted against the Senate. But right now, the Senate took note to resume today, so because the court says he can resume.
Yes, well, it's a good thing that people still know the law, and though the lawmakers did something that was not in the Constitution, that was against the Constitution, and yes, the lawmakers could be put in check. But the funny thing is the tag on Omar Agege, because the house right now is beefed up with serious security.
Well, let them just do their work, pass on all those bills. Okay, we have Biringwari. Burita gave soldiers 3 weeks to end killings, and the rider says open military base in Kafanin, Duka. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tuka Yusuf Burita, has charged troops to end the wanton killings and destruction of properties in Biringwari local government area of Kaduna State. He gave charge while flagging off the 2 Battalion Forward Operation Base, that's the FOB, at the Biringwari area of Kaduna yesterday. Armed bandits held in the last 5 months killed over 100 persons, including 11 soldiers in various villages in that area. President Muhammadu Buhari had, in reaction to the latest attack, promised to establish an army battalion in that area. Addressing troops for Operation Idul Rani at the proposed site in that area, Burita said, "We are no longer going to adopt a defensive approach. It must be offensive. Since the battle has been brought to you, you must take it back and crush them wherever they are." That's what I have been expecting.
That is proactivity.
For God's sake, I know the soldiers are strong people. I keep saying it on this platform.
Saying it, yes, you keep saying it.
Yes, because, hey, when you pass through the barracks, you know.
Well, yeah.
But I know they are strong people. And, hey, why will you just allow... But thank God it's coming now. We want to see action. The barracks is there.
Definitely.
Okay, we have this.
For reports.
We have this. NNPC extend oil lifting contract to 2 years. Source. And NAF police launch manhunt for killers of airman in Bayelsa. That's all we can take for Daily Trust this morning.
Okay, moving here to the New Telegraph newspaper, we have Buhari. $320 million Abacha loots for vulnerable Nigerians. President Muhammadu Buhari has stated that the $320 million stolen by the late head of state, General Sani Abacha, will be spent on the conditional cash transfer scheme of the administration to support the poor and the vulnerable Nigerians. The president said it was one condition given by the Switzerland authorities for the repatriation of the funds. This was as the president identified anonymous ownership of the companies as one of the veritable platforms for money laundering and other global crimes against humanity. You know, when I first saw the headline, I'm like, $320 million, Abacha loots. And the first thing that came to my mind is, Abacha would have stolen or looted enough funds to last him for his sixth generation. I mean, you keep on hearing reports of how many of a large amount of money of Abacha loots and the rest of it. Well, this is good. The president's allocated his funds to support the poor and vulnerable Nigerians. We have here patients grown as workers strike paralyzes hospitals. That's a very sad one. Fresh plot to invade National Assembly thickens. Omar Agege vows to resume today. 150 Delta youths moved to Abuja for protest. And because of time, that will be all for the New Telegraph newspaper.
Okay, that's all for this news segment, the newspaper review segment. Up next is we want to look at human development capital in Nigeria, looking at it seriously. Because if you say you want to look at the concept of human capital, that's the ability of the skill. Then the process of making it turn to money, making it turn to what you want it to be, making people get skills and making monies out of the skills is what we want to look at this morning. Looking at human capital development and economic growth in Nigeria. We'll be right back.
SuperDawn, your daily live current affairs program where topical issues that border on politics, economy, sport, and sizzling national issues are analyzed, now holds every Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Superscreen Television. Let your voice be heard. Join us.
Welcome back, where we want to look at achieving human capital development and economic growth in Nigeria. One major objective has been to attain peace, prosperity, and stability, especially material prosperity. Looking at all of these things happening in Nigeria, but there have been loads of hampered, and that is looking at primitive agriculture, looking at inadequate human development, and looking at some other effects on those things. But today we have a guest in the studio. He is Wole Ogundare, MD, CEO, Katina Advisory. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Vera.
Good morning to you, sir.
Morning, my brother.
We're looking at achieving human capital development and economic growth in Nigeria. First, when we say human capital, what do we mean?
I think you defined it when you were giving the opening sort of salve with the human capital development is simple. It's just knowledge for everyone. You know, every citizen deserves a certain level of knowledge, you know, which is why we say, look, the advent of telecoms has sort of tried to spread knowledge around everywhere. So for me, it's just knowledge for everyone.
Okay. But looking at knowledge for everyone, we want to take a case study in our own country right now, Nigeria. Correct. Looking at Nigeria, can we achieve this concept?
You know, now that's a good way to put it. You know, the Bible says, and I'm sure the Quran will support it, that my people die for a lack of, or my people perish for a lack of knowledge. You know, so when I say knowledge for everyone, I say that without any apologies. The challenge with us achieving that in an inclusive manner in this country stems from... Okay,
maybe before we start with the challenge, let's look at the importance of human development.
Good. Now,
can we go with the importance
let's
first?
Start with the importance. I mean, you cannot overemphasize the importance of human capital development, because without it, the country stagnates. It's simple. It is so important that, you know, today, which is why I decided to go with the challenges first. Today, the vision that, you know, is running this country isn't clear. There's no clarity in vision. It is just down to human capital development. So, I mean, you can't even begin to talk about the impact. A lot of people will look at it in terms of, oh, you know, people are not going to school here, or this particular part of the country, a lot of people are disadvantaged. I see a very big picture, right from the top. You know, the human capital development, even right from the leadership, in terms of the vision that the leadership has, you know, there's a challenge there. So the moment you look at it like that, you will say that the importance cannot even be overemphasized. It is extremely important to move Nigeria forward.
Okay, before we go into companies, human capital as regards in companies, would you say, I want you to review the human capital, the knowledge being gotten from schools in Nigeria. Would you say that the Nigerian education sector is doing well enough?
You know, that's why I wanted to start with the big picture. The challenge today with schools is that the entire curriculum across all levels, from primary, secondary, tertiary, isn't linked to the economy. That's the challenge. Therefore, you see graduates coming out without a clue of what's going on in the economy. There's no linkage. And if you take it up a notch, the economy itself has no overall vision. Let me tell you what I'm saying. If you go to a country like Germany, let me just pick Germany. I met a German lady about 4 years ago, and she was telling me that she was the only one that went to school in her entire house. I found that a bit funny, but she added that, you know, but she's the poorest. You know, and they always tease her that, you know, university graduate, we have money more than you and stuff. It's simple. The German economy, or the country itself, is an industrialized nation. Therefore, they've built their total economy around training people right from secondary school. Once you leave secondary school in Germany, you're going into a technical school by choice, because that technical school is linked to a company doing some technical things. So it's a proper linkage. Once you leave secondary school, you're either, you know, going to be maybe a mechanic, or, you know, some other parts of engineering, or what do you call it now? A carpenter of some sort. You know, so the way the economy is built is around that is an industrialized country. Therefore, the entire economy down to the school system is done in that way. Now, I saw in some news, you know, I think about a week or so now, where I think it was one of the ministers saying they wanted to add one more year to the curriculum of universities. That doesn't make any sense. You know, let me give you a classic example. A doctor should be focused on treating people in the hospital, not on managing the hospital. They are two different things. Which is why if you go to a few developed countries, what you find is there's some guys managing the entire setup of the hospital from a business management perspective, and there are doctors who come in and treat their patients. It's full focus on what needs to be done. So what you find is that the doctors in the hospital give their all in treating patients because that's the entire focus. That's what they're trained to do. They're not trained to be business managers. So if you look at it and you step into the bigger vision again, you say, look, as a country, Nigeria, what exactly are we about, the way I described Germany, that we can tie our entire economy around? You find out that's where the challenge is.
So the curriculum needs to be reviewed from the grassroots, or just the university?
It's from the bottom all the way to the top. You can't overemphasize that. You know, I'm a very strong advocate, for instance, that as a country, we should be focused on, say, two things, max: agriculture and the oil that we have. That's all we need to focus on. And tell the world. So, you know, you need to build a country brand. I've said this so many times. For anybody who cares to listen, you build a brand around your country. That's why Nigerians leave this country today and go to Dubai for holidays. Because Dubai by itself is branded as an investment and holidaying destination. So you find out everything Dubai puts out, the buildings, the advertisements, the planes, everything is wrapped around invest and holiday in Dubai.
Okay, I know that this human capital development has been identified as the for economic indigenous choice available. I put it indigenous choice because you have to use the people.
Correct.
For the growth of any economy.
Correct.
And looking at it the way it's going, the importance also, someone said that it's about improving competitiveness.
Correct.
Improving quality of lives of the populace.
Correct.
But our government come and gone, do you think we have this vision? Because I've seen people come with Vision 10, Vision 2020, Vision that. Do we really center on this?
No, we do not. And the answer is what I just said, because the country has no overall brand focus. Let me break that down a bit. You see the connection. If I ask 1 million Nigerians today, what does the Nigerian brand mean to you? I'll probably get 1 million different answers. Where you'll find a lot of coherence in the answers, because I've done this exercise before, is a lot of people will tell you we're a corrupt nation. At least the world knows us for that. You see, when you build out overall brand, then you wrap your human capital as one of the elements around it. That's how to build human capital. And it is now very, very inclusive. Let me tell you why I always talk about agriculture. No state, and I'll link it to human capital shortly, no state needs to go off and say, oh, this is what I want to do. You know, the way states do these days, it doesn't make any sense. It won't get us far. What you need is 3, 4, 5, 6 states coming together and saying, we are all in a rice growing region. Let's all work together to grow rice. Now, that's where the human capital now steps in. How do you do it? So you use that to attract funding into the country. The funding is followed by people who will train a lot of other people. That's why you begin to build knowledge for all, which is why my definition, and I'm just using that as a simple example, which is why my knowledge for all in defining human capital remains, you know, the ability to create knowledge for all. You understand what I'm saying? So for rice, as an instance, you know, being grown by 4, 5, 6 states, what you find immediately, if they do it properly, is that rice by itself starts to become cheap. One of the challenges I've seen with Nigeria as a country is, again, I'll go back to agriculture, is our production capacity. Let me tell you what I mean by that. if you give this space, this studio space, for instance, if you give it to a country like Israel and you tell them to grow rice from that space, as an example, they will probably harvest rice 5 or 6 times in 1 year from that space. For every Nigerian farmer today growing rice, they harvest the rice once in a year versus 5 or 6 times in a year will be done in Israel. So you'll find out that the volume of production when you focus is even much larger than when you're not focused. So people trying to run on their own steam, people doing like mini entrepreneurs, even within the government, you have so many mini entrepreneurs running helter-skelter. No, we won't go very far. What we need is a collaborative way to move the country forward. And it starts with a single vision of branding the country correctly.
Okay. So looking at it, you mentioned 2 things, agriculture and oil. And we need to have a brand.
To drive it forward.
To drive it forward.
And attract investment into it. Let me add one more thing. The things we need to do in Nigeria, we don't have the money for it. That's clear. A lot of people usually feel, oh, we make so much money from oil, we can use it to grow Nigeria. Is wrong. You cannot. You don't have enough money. So when the government says it, yes, on that part they're correct, you don't have enough money. But how do you attract money and the right human capital to drive it?
So how do we cultivate the environment?
You build a brand. You build a Nigerian brand. Let me give you another example. Rwanda, that's number 2 in Nigeria, in Africa on the ease of doing business index, built a brand. Their brand is what? Science and technology. You can find out. That's why Rwanda has been able to rise from the current ruins of war into number 2 on the ease of doing business index. If you go to Rwanda, you register a business in less than 30 minutes. So I said so.
Okay, wouldn't you see, since you've been a brand, building a brand in Nigeria, wouldn't you say that Nigeria is an oil-rich and exporting country? We should probably go that direction.
So that's why I said agriculture and oil, because oil is finite. Oil will finish at some point in time, and oil is subject to all sorts of international shocks.
Okay, so would you say that the private sector, let's come down to the private sector, would you say that they are doing enough training their staffs? Because most firms will say they are jobs, but the people are not employable. The applicants are not employable. So most times they have to employ them
and train them.
Correct. Now, would you say that the private sector is doing enough?
So, you know, you have answered your own question. You clearly said they're not doing enough. Because the private sector itself, you know, cannot train all the people that need to be trained. Go and fix your curriculum so that before they get to the private sector, they are coming with the requisite knowledge. And you see, you know, I wish I could draw in this studio. You understand what I'm saying a bit better. If you don't fix it at the top, the recipients, which is the private sector that you mentioned, who need these human capital, knowledge-enabled individuals to work, will never get them. Never. That's why you find a lot of people, you know, hiring maybe first-class students and then taking them on some training. The banks do it very well. They'll hire people, taking them on some 3 months, 4 months training. You know, that's what's going on. That will never ever develop a country.
Okay,
never.
are you saying that we're not aware of what is going on? Are you saying that this government, I'm not talking about this government in particular, are you saying that Nigeria as a country doesn't know that we're drifting apart, looking elsewhere instead of looking at the direction of agriculture? And because I know you were part of a particular team one time.
Correct.
That sat to help the country. Maybe you need to reiterate that. Infrastructure.
Yeah.
What happened then afterwards?
So again, it is due to this lack of, you see.
Maybe
you
need to tell.
Let me talk about that a bit. Let me talk. Let me start again. Let me start again. My people perish for lack of knowledge. It is so apt. What we did with developing in Nigeria Integrated Infrastructure Master Plan a few years ago was to say what sort of infrastructure stock, as they call it, so what level of bridges, roads, rail, you know, etc., do we need to build in Nigeria to support the growth and development of the economy and stuff. You know, that was done. Implementation was an issue. They couldn't implement it. And I'll tell you the primary reason. Because they didn't have the money to implement it.
So how do we now generate funds?
So
if you say it's agriculture, you need loads of money to go into that.
Yes.
So how do we get funding?
Let me describe this model. You see, if you tell the world who you are and you brand your country correctly, money will come into your country. FDIs. So let me give you an example. The economies the greatest economies built, across the world today were not built by, only their own money. It was built with a lot of external funding, Now, today as well, you can check it, the world has more money than it can spend. But a lot of money is just sitting in foreign banks. Those monies will not go to where they do not feel you have a proper plan to turn it around. So the monies will not come to places like Nigeria, for instance, because they'll assume if you give those people money, they're just probably going to siphon it. So what do you do? Let me the solution from my perspective. You create a brand Nigeria. Like I said, you wrap it around 2 sectors because we're very strong in those 2 sectors. Almost no state in this country doesn't have some sort of agricultural blessing. You tie it around those 2 sectors. You now tell the whole world that this is who we are as a country. You put it on CNN. That's why you see countries, name it, the Philippines, all sorts of countries. You see them on CNN. They're doing something there. Invest Dubai. You create and invest Nigeria. And, you support it with all of the projects required. It's a lot of work. The work that needs to be done to support it is what I think everybody's running away from. And once you tell the world this is who we are, because I saw this done in Rwanda, they looked at their country that is to make us a science and technology hub of Africa. What do we need to do? What do we need to do in power? What do we need to do in human capital? What do we need to do with our airways? What do we need to do with our railways? What do we need to do with our bridges? You see what I'm saying? They looked at it holistically. What do we need to do across the entire country to make us this? And they went to the whole world and they were selling it. I was part of that work then. They were going country to country and selling that agenda. And a lot of money just poured into Rwanda. So regardless of what the West says today, that, the president has been there for too long. If you go there and see the work that has been done, it's been fantastic. Today, Rwanda has a daily flight flying out of this country. Today.
So as regards the skill sets to drive agriculture and make it a brand in Nigeria, what would you say is the perfect way to imbibe this knowledge in Nigerian graduates or students? Would you say that a school or an institution is set strictly for agriculture, or would you just say they start a company, a federal company, where they employ and at the same time train the staff?
Okay, where do we start from, really?
So this is where you start from. You've taken it from a very granular level. If you look at it from the top, the first thing is you create a brand. I've said it. Wrap it around 2 sectors. Tell the world, these are the steps. Tell the world this is who we are. You see, when the money comes in, the human capital to ensure the money is spent properly will follow it. So the first thing that happens is that the over-reliance on the national budget reduces. Because today everybody always say, I don't have budget for this, I don't have budget for that, that's what goes on. The human capital to support it, you'll be amazed, will follow it. Those human capitals, then you can now start saying, okay, for instance, if you want to say how many agric products do we want to focus on, or animal husbandry or whatever, like I use rice for example, say cassava. Two things we produce a lot in this country is rice and cassava. If you focus on those 2 things first, and you say how many states across the country can collaboratively start growing rice and cassava, then you can determine, what schools. What you find out is that there are already schools that do this, but they don't have the capacity to do it on a larger scale. The money coming in will help. The human capital of experts that will come in will help. So what you will find is that, like I said in Israel, you can bring in the Israeli and say, look, how do you harvest rice 5 times a year from every single space that you guys have? Israel is surrounded by enemy, tiny country. But the volume of food they produce in Israel can feed Nigeria. How do you guys do it? That technology, you bring it in. If you're going to set up a school or you're going to use an existing school, that is now detail. Do you get what I'm saying? Then people can begin to focus gradually, and you break it down. What roads do we need from all of this? So if 5 or 6 states, somewhere in the North Central, combine and say we're all growing rice, what roads do we need to get this rice to where it is needed? What airports do we need around that area? You begin to see infrastructure begin to pop up to support an overall vision. Are you getting what I'm saying? Now, if you look at the private sector that you mentioned, for instance, what sort of skills does the private sector need to thrive in whatever it is that they are doing? Then you look at the overall, what you find in the private sector immediately is that even the private sector itself will start saying, how do we align with this national vision? Because a lot of money will go in there. So you see, people like me in consulting firms will start to think, you know, what can I do around agriculture? Because I can easily get foreign partners to come in and work with me. I'm a local. A foreign partner cannot know the country as much as I do. But a foreign partner can have expertise. The Israelites I mentioned. So I will say, look, come into Nigeria, meet this governor because I have access. You know, meet 5, 6, 7, 8 governors. Then you begin to get into the operational mode. Then, people who we want to hire, because the entire country curriculum itself would have been worked on to say, this is who we are.
This is the focus.
This is the focus.
Okay.
You know, you see what I mean? Then it now begins to shape up properly. So the people I hire can now be people who must have, in part of that curriculum, been taught things at the national agenda. Now, you may ask that, look, all of those that are currently in the country today, what do we do? We've passed through schools, for instance, we've graduated, you know, we're all over the place. We have a lot of history graduates or whatever graduates working in banks. What do we do? That's where the re-education comes in. So a lot of those people will need a lot of re-education.
Okay, looking at
like a balance. When you direct all of this down to streamline it to one agriculture.
2 things, like I said, not just agriculture. Yes.
Wouldn't all other aspects, other sectors suffer?
No.
IT.
No.
The rest of them.
What you will find is what technology helps us, for instance, sell agriculture on the international stage. You know, you have agriculture exchanges, the way you have stock exchange. You have agriculture exchanges where you can sell cocoa to the rest of the world. So then technology comes in to enhance it. Technology also, you know, I mentioned the technology they use in this farming and whatever. Then technology starts to support that. The technology we do today is to support people like Google. That's what Andela does, as an example. You see what I mean?
How do we now, it's coming to retainership. We want to look at retention of human capital for an organization or for a country like this. How do we retain it? 2 questions in one. One, we talked about education also. Where do we start from? Is it the primary school? Is it the secondary school? Then how do we retain this?
So you start from the primary school. This is why, you know, I'm sure you must have seen videos of Chinese kids in primary schools fiddling, creating, what do you call it now? Calculators and stuff. Yeah, that's where you start from. You start from that level and then you graduate it. So in terms of how you start, that's where you started. How do you retain it? What you do at the end of the day, or what you will find out is that today, let's look at an area where there's a lot of flight of human capital, doctors. You know, today, what is the internationally acceptable standards in terms of number of doctors per citizen? What do we have today in Nigeria? You see all of them going on strike daily, whatever, you know, it's all because there's no money. So how do you retain that sort of talent? What you will find, like I said, is that the moment you adopt this proper vision, everything in the country becomes cheaper because your production as a country rises. The main challenge we have as a country is our production level is very, very minimal to support the population. That's why food prices are high. You will, you know, in a proper setup, there will never be a scenario where you hear that tomato prices have gone up, as an example. What does that even mean? It's because tomatoes are being produced very, very... You see, like I said, the challenge in Nigeria is productivity across all levels. So the moment you're able to improve productivity, you will see you will retain everybody. Because if you ask me, why is everybody leaving? It's to get a better life, isn't it?
So, but looking at it, if we are to retain this, are you seeing hiccups? And why have we not gotten to that stage? At the states of Nigeria, why have we not gotten to that stage of achieving much from agriculture, from other things, skill acquisition?
Yeah, you see, it is, like I said, my people die or perish from a lack of knowledge. It is because, look, what I'm saying, I'm sure it's not foreign. Part of the leadership will know this, but implementing it is the major challenge. You know, people, you know, I mean, if you look at the presidency at times, all you just see is a lot of grandstanding, rank-a-diding, and all of that going on. You know, we need people who are ready to work. Nigeria needs a lot of work. Nigeria is like, if I compare it to a corporate organization, it's a corporate organization that is failing and hasn't been led with the right vision. What you need as a country is the right overall vision and focus. Then the world will step in and say, okay, these guys are ready. Then people, you know, as they say, earning whatever millions per month in the National Assembly, all of that becomes a thing of the past. Then you begin to see less greed. You know, I was reading something from you guys will know SuperDawn.
Yes.
You know, he put something up on Twitter that I found extremely interesting. Yeah, you know, even apart from Yahoo Boys, even he was saying that one of the songs he sang in the past, you know, was supporting materialism. You know, and he was saying that, look, by himself, he's not a materialistic person. But what you find with a lot of what is going on around the entertainment and influencing a lot of people is that you need to be wealthy, you know.
To make it.
To make it. You need to
be happy.
You know, so that culture has become ingrained in the up-and-coming youth, you know, and it's the wrong culture. All of that needs to change. It's the wrong, you know, people are not being, how do I call it now, celebrated for honest work anymore. You know, one guy put it as well on Twitter that, look, an average person earns 100,000 per month. It'll probably take him 20 years to buy a C250 Benz.
Yes.
You know, one boy pulls off a Yahoo stunt and is driving the Benz and he can barely express himself. All of those kinds of things should not be. Should not. And, you know, if you look at it over the week, this past weekend, the number of fors and the against, a lot of people were actually against the EFCC arresting the boys. Because you hear talk like, oh, they bring money into the economy. When your youth start to think like that, there's a huge problem. And the government is just all over the place.
So how do we engage them?
Focus.
We've said agriculture. How do we engage them?
You start.
Because they're already into something else.
You know what you do? You start by creating a Nigeria vision and brand. I've said it so many times. That way, you reorientate the whole country. And you see, the guys, you know...
But we have change.
No.
We have...
No. Let me tell you what all of that is. All of that are slogans. A slogan and a brand, they are two different things.
Can you differentiate?
So, a slogan is just a word, you know, like good people, great nation. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. A brand is something you walk on. So, like I said, there are steps to this, by the way. So, what I'm saying is just the overall thing. Before even creating that brand, you know, there's a way you go about it. It's a step-by-step process where you talk to stakeholders. This is a country with about, what? We speak about 520 languages in Nigeria. We have about 250 unique ethnic groups as a country. So the level of engagement you go to even before you arrive at that overall whatever is massive. You know, and it's an agenda that as a government, you play it. We have 774 local governments. You play it across those 774. This is who we want to. You engage. This is the starting process. It's a lot of work. I mean, if you tell me, for instance, the government says, oh, okay, put your money where your mouth is. Come and do this thing for us. I will gladly do it. I'm just going to take 2 or 3 or 4 marketing agencies and we'll go at it. We will create that brand and we will market it and sell it to the world. What must happen is that everybody behind the scene, so what you will find at the end of the day is that ministries will not be working in silos. Let me tell you what I mean by that. If we say we need to rebuild 3 or 4 third mainland bridges, it mustn't just be the work of Ministry of Works and Housing. Water resources must be involved. Agriculture must be involved. Power must be, all those ministries must come together to say, what is the impact of building 3 or 4 bridges in this area, that area, this area, that area. Housing must be involved. You see what I mean? Today there's so much work in silos. What we need to do is to say, we want to build a project Nigeria. It's a project Nigeria. how many people can come together, you know, in clusters to work at it. Everybody going off on tangents. That's why power will never work. Can't work. Because we don't have enough critical mass around it.
Engagement in a company where they are short-staffed. First things first, do you believe in multitasking?
Yes, no, multitasking is normal.
Okay. Now, would you say that multitasking is more of an advantage when you know a bit about everything and you're not specified to one duty?
So, you know, what you're saying is it's not a classic scenario that you find in most offices. In most offices, you are hired to do something. You may have skills to do other things in addition to it, but you will still be appraised on the something that you were hired to do. You see what I mean? Your ability to multitask, you know, around other things, you know, may be an advantage that gets you up the ladder very quickly. But if you think like that and you look at it from that perspective, that approach doesn't help us with the inclusiveness approach I'm talking about. It's still looking at it from like a pinhole view. We need like a bird's eye view, you know, because what you find in most corporates today is that most corporates, like you said earlier on, are looking for, you know, individuals. There's always a vacancy somewhere, and they will tell you, oh, you know, there's no human capital out there, and there are thousands of graduates out there. But you see, of all the graduates out there, how many of them can write, you know, a 2-page letter? If I challenge graduates in Nigeria, say today, write a 2-page letter on how Nigeria needs to move to the next level, address it all to the president. You know, how many of them are we going to find that, you know, really make sense? How many won't make sense? I have a very good guesstimate in my head. You see what I mean? So the skill sets, you know, they're not what it should be.
So we should work on the skill sets.
Oh, yeah, the skill sets.
Yes.
And those skill sets must be tied to an overall vision, like I said.
Okay, but looking at it now as an individual, individual graduate, do you think we're ready to go through this route?
The graduates,
yes,
or the government creating an enabling
environment? Not just government. We're looking at individual this time around.
No, they're not ready.
Then what do they need to do?
The individuals are not ready. Do you know why they're not ready? Because they're not empowered. You can't, you know, it's like a child that hasn't been brought up properly. You know, everybody comes from a home. You don't bring him up properly and then you say he's stealing and he's now a miscreant. You were bringing him up to be a miscreant. What are you talking about? You know, you didn't give him proper home training. You know, so what are you talking about?
Sorry, I'm going to hold you on there 1 minute. There's a call. Hello, good morning to you.
Yes, good morning.
Longest time. Good morning. Go ahead.
Good morning to your guest and your supporter.
Okay.
Yes, I've heard all your discussion. My contribution now is that there can be never, I mean, the human capital you are talking about and the development, it could never come into existence as far as Nigeria is concerned because of corruption. As far as corruption is concerned, the truth is not there. You see, Buhari is a bit trying his best to fight corruption. Even saying openly that the youth are lazy because the youth are not doing what they're supposed to do. They fail to go for information. They fail to go for knowledge. You see, you are there talking about knowledge, even quoting Bible, that the people can perish because of a lack of knowledge. People fail to ask our elite, how are you using our money? What is the income in totality for a year? If the government are collecting revenue such as tax, collecting money from the what they call bill. People pay millions of naira on bill. Where is that money go to? The oil is bringing money. The airport is bringing money. The seaport is bringing money. Even vehicle licenses are bringing money. They are still borrowing money. They are recovering money from Switzerland. Where is all this money? And we are still saying that we don't have money. It will go for us to establish government center in all the states of implementation as Obasanjo did during his 80s. Also now, there is no government center that teach people to have to come out and become a citizen and be on their own. I think I really congratulate Yeah, you are great. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You heard what he said.
Yeah, so, you know, what you have said is extremely important. You know, they say he who comes to equity must come with clean hands. So the vision I have described needs a honest government to implement it. Do we have a honest government? The jury is out on that. But you need a honest leader to start with. And that leader needs to surround himself with the right advisors. That's how to go about it.
Are you saying we don't have that?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Look, let me tell you what I'm saying. You know, every government comes in with an agenda. So you know the current government's agenda is, oh, we must fight corruption to a standstill.
Yes.
That's not a vision that will move a country forward. That's an operational arm. That's you know, it's like saying we need to work on a strategy. And you know, somebody says, oh, is this operational issue I want to focus on? No. We need somebody, that's why I said my people perish for a lack of vision. If you have the right vision and you say this is how I want to move Nigeria forward, everything else must fall into place, including fighting corruption. Fighting corruption now just becomes something to help you achieve that overall vision. You see what I mean?
Okay, I, as an entrepreneur, I started an organization, and I need staffs with different skill sets. Would you advise that I take time to employ staffs with skill sets, or the way banks do it, I just employ generally and have to train them?
You know, it's a function of what you want to do as an entrepreneur. If you find people with the right skill sets to support what you want to do, you know, you're lucky. If you don't find the skill set, then you need to train them.
Okay, finally, we must wrap up now. If you're being brought forward to say, hey, Ogundare, we want you to be the president of this great nation, what will you be doing?
The first thing is to create the right vision. I won't even go into all the operational things. The first thing is the right vision. What brand do we want to use to move Nigeria forward? It's to create the right vision around one or two sectoral brands and tell the world about it. You know, that's what you need to do. If you do not do that, and quote me, if you do not do it, Nigeria won't move forward. It's not a curse or whatever. It's just the way every country needs to move forward. If you look at all the major corporates that have done very well, they do well with the right brand and strategy. It's simple. Check any major corporate in the world. Any. Google, Facebook.
Will it work here?
I mean, what are you talking about? Are we from Mars? If it's done correctly, it will work, because we have a lot of successful corporates within Nigeria. Dangote is an example. Didn't he start here? Dangote by itself has created a brand, Dangote, as a way to be successful.
We must leave now. I want to thank you for coming on this show.
Thank you very much.
Ogundare, the MD and CEO of Katina Adversary. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well, viewers at home, up next is SuperDawn Sports. We'll be right back.
SuperDawn, your daily live current affairs program where topical issues that border on politics, economy, sport, and sizzling national issues are analyzed, now holds every Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Superscreen Television. Let your voice be heard. Join us. Politics, economy, sport, and sizzling national issues are analyzed, now holds every Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Superscreen Television. Let your voice be heard. Join us.
It has not been the most convincing title defense from Enyimba Football Club, but the Nigerian champions have found a semblance of form lately, winning 3 of their last 4 matches. and so